What's up everybody, and welcome to today's Tableau walkthrough. In this video, we're going to build a Gantt chart. And Gantt charts are typically used to show the duration of events or activities. So let's get into it. First, we need to open our Tableau application to where your screen looks like this. The second thing that we need to do is to connect to our data sources. So we're going to go to the left, scroll down to Save Data Sources, and click the Sample Superstore data source. Once you click it, you should have a screen that looks very similar to this. And the first thing we need to do when creating a Gantt chart is understand just the basic building blocks. So the first thing, the mark type needs to be automatic. The second thing is that on our column shelf, we need to have a date or time field, which is typically a continuous measure. Then in our rows shelf, we need to have a dimension. The size icon under the march card will take on the value of the date difference between the start date and the end date within days or whichever time unit you want to use for your Gantt chart. So let's get into building our first Gantt chart. To create our Gantt chart, the first thing we're going to do is add a date to our columns shelf. So we have this order date. I dragged it from the data pane into the column shelf. That will give us a date, but then we want to change this to week, and specifically week number. So these top values are discrete variables, and that's why it's blue. Bottom date values are continuous, which is what we need for creating a Gantt chart. We hit week number. Now you have these multiple line tick markers. But let's say we want to figure out the orders until ship for different ship modes that we have for products. We're going to drag ship mode into the row shelf, and it's still going to look a little weird, which is fine. But the magic of creating a Gantt chart, you need to create a calculated field. So there's two different approaches you can do this. The first approach is to click Analysis at the top on your toolbar. Then scroll down to create calculated field. Click calculated field. Of course, we're doing ordered until ship. So I'm going to name this order until ship. Then if we click under that, now we have access to our formula box. Then if I click this arrow to the right, this gives me access to all the different functions that I have access to. So to calculate the difference between two different dates in our data set, we need to use the date diff function. So if you start to type DA, you'll see date diff should be the 3rd. And what date diff does is return the difference between two different dates where you have a start and an end date, and the date part is the time unit of the calculation. So this could be days, months, years. In this particular case, we're going to do days. So if you do an open quotation, close quotation, then the dates that we care about is order date. So if you start to type order date, you'll see order date appears in your dialog box. Then the next thing you want to do is ship date. So that's our end date. And then you should see here below, calculation is valid. If this isn't correct, then you have an error in your code and you need to do some debugging. But once you have this, we now have the calculation needed to create and add to our Gantt chart. So I am going to click OK to apply this function. And now you'll see that it's a new variable in our data set. So the first thing we need to do after we've created our order until ship value, we need to add it to our Gantt chart. And so how do we do that? We need to use it by dragging it to the March card and our size tab. So now you've added a variable of orders until ship to portray the values on our size card. But what it's doing is actually adding the days, and we don't really care about the addition of the days. We care about the actual discrete days between the order date and the ship date. And the way that we have to do that and display that in Tableau, and instead of the sum, because the sum is default, we need to click this down arrow. Then we need to go to measure and then click average. And so now we have a Gantt chart that shows us close to the values that we actually care about, but it's still kind of spread out and illegible. So to make it more legible and just make it look a little bit more simple, we need to just condense the range of dates that we're going to look at. So to do this, I'm going to use a filter, and the way you can do that, if you want to use the same order date value in the filter, you can just hold Control or Command if you're on MacBook, drag that into the filters shelf, hit range of dates, and then now you have the ability to drag it to a specific range of dates. So I'm going to do it like a little bit after March. You can also type the value in or click the value that you actually care about. Let's say we do March 1st, from January 1st, 2021 to March 1st, 2021. And then we hit OK. So now it's a little bit better. We can see that, okay, it took 1 day for first class to be shipped, as it should. And then second class, standard class typically has a longer average of days. And the next thing, maybe we want to color code this a little bit so that we can differentiate between first class, same day, second class, and standard class. And simply all you have to do is use ship mode. You can drag it from the data pane into the color under the March card. And now we can visually see what our data visualization looks like. And we had at least same day. Of course, this kind of makes sense. We have 0 average days until shipping because, of course, we shipped on the same day and it should have arrived on the same day we've ordered it. So now you've created a Gantt chart in Tableau. You have the ability to create more advanced data visualizations. Let's create a title. I'm going to do it a little bit differently this time. Let's right click, hit edit title. Change this to, delete this actually. Change this to Gantt. Spelled it wrong, but here we go. And then hit OK. Of course, this is Gantt chart, but if we want to change the sheet name as well, we can type in Gantt chart. So now we've created a Gantt chart in Tableau. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
you.